Hi there! Do you want to know what language and music have in common? If you do, please stay tuned to this video. Hi, my name is Paula Roncaglia-Denissen and I'm an assistant professor at the Cognitive Science Artificial Intelligence Department. My research interest is about language and music processing and perception. And you might be wondering, why language and music? Well, both language and music are unique to humans and they're present in all cultures. Also, language and music, they share cognitive resources. For instance, the use of syntax to organize their elements and sound perception. In the field of syntactic research, there are two prominent views. On one hand, there are the proponents of a common computational mechanism between language and music, so their elements of representations are different, but the mechanism used to integrate these elements is the same. And on the other hand, there are the proponents of this shared cognitive attentional resources. So what language and music have in common is attention. I wanted to contribute to this debate and I want to understand better whether it's the parser or attentional resources. Therefore, I developed an experiment to test the simultaneous processing of language and music and in 3 sessions. In one session, the exact same stimulus material was presented to participants and they must judge the correctness of the language. In a different session, they did the same thing but regarding how good and well music, the melody sounded. And in a 3rd session, they should be prepared to either answer about the correctness of the language or how good the music was. As it turns out, our results, our behavior results, they suggest that whenever language and music are both violated or both correct, participants do better. So if music is saying something and language something else, they do less well. And this is an indication that what language and music share is actually attention. So is this the end of the debate? No, of course not. There's just one piece of evidence. And we want to have more evidence that this is the case. So in the next step, we are going to bring to the lab musicians and we're going to give them the same experiment. But in this time, we're going to record their brain responses. And why brain responses? Because then we can see the syntactic processing of language and music while it unfolds. But it's not only syntax that's a candidate for the cognitive resource between language and music, also sound processing. In a different experiment that I was doing, where I was investigated the syntactic and prosody processing of second language learners, I came across something that was very curious. After the experiment, when I was talking to participants and debriefing them about what the experiment was about, I noticed that the native speakers of the language being tested, being used, they could not notice anything particular about the stimulus material. The second language learners, on the other hand, they all noticed there was some kind of regularity on how the stimulus material sounded. And I realized maybe they are hearing something more. So I decided to test that. And I tested participants that had 2 languages that either had similar rhythmic properties or they had very different rhythmic properties from one another. And I also tested participants who spoke only 1 language. And I measured their rhythmic perception in music. And as it turns out, individuals who spoke 2 languages did much better than monolinguals, and individuals who spoke languages that had different rhythmic properties, they did even better than individuals that had languages with similar rhythmic properties. But we still didn't know when this rhythmic sensitivity starts. Is this only when a language is spoken fluently by somebody or already in the early stages of language learning? So we decided to investigate this. We are tested 214 participants who were learning Dutch as a second language. Participants had different proficiency level and we made sure to collect their working memory capacity, their phonological memory capacity, and also their melodic aptitude to account for individual differences. And as we can see, individuals who are at the late stage of beginners of Dutch, they start to show this rhythmic sensitivity. So if they don't speak the language at all, they're less good in perceiving rhythmic variation in music. Whatever they achieve the level of A2 or beginning of intermediate level, they get much better at it. All my research that I presented to you, and also many other studies that I have that I didn't talk about, they concern language and music processing and perception. And why is this the case? Because understanding what language and music have in common and also what is unique in each one of these domains can help us understand a little bit better about how our cognition works. Thank you for your attention, and please send me an email if you want to talk about it, about my research, or sing about it. Thank you.